Hey, it's me. Today we're going to talk about the new bareMinerals Blemish Rescue Powder Foundation. I want this to be pretty clear, straight to the point, so we're just going to go ahead and jump into this. This is bareMinerals' new powder. It was designed for acne-prone skin, or maybe those of you who might have acne a little bit more than the average person. It comes in 20 shades, and I want to read a little bit about what it says on the bareMinerals website about the product so you can know how it's different from the original and the matte. So it's a loose powder foundation which is formulated with 0.5 salicylic acid to quickly resolve acne breakouts, plus oat protein to soothe and nourish the skin. Now, I know a lot of products that have salicylic acid in them are associated with being drying. And I thought it was interesting because bareMinerals actually goes on to address this next in the little description box, and it says, unlike many acne treatments that dry the skin, bareMinerals Blemish Rescue Foundation contains a moisture mineral complex to keep skin hydrated, while a blemish busting mineral blend of zinc, sulfur, and kaolin clay work together to mattify the skin and purify the pores. So they've kind of addressed the assumption that goes along with salicylic acid and a lot of blemish products in general, to say that they've designed it to have some type of moisture mineral in the ingredients. So I want to go ahead and move into the two products that they kind of marketed alongside of the Blemish Rescue Foundation. I don't want to ramble on about these a lot. There's a primer. It's called Blemish Rescue. It is skin clearing. It says it has anti-redness properties, and it's a mattifying primer. I think the anti-redness comes in with the claim because it's green. I don't find that it really does anything, the green coloring. I think it just disappears. But this formula, I think, does go along really nicely with the powder foundation. Do I think you have to have it? No, but it is something that, again, goes along really well with the just overall formula of the powder. Then they've designed this brush, which is called the Seamless Buffing Brush with antibacterial charcoal. The way I understand this is that there's some type of active charcoal layer on the top or within the bristles, and that's supposed to help prevent bacteria from building up in your brush. So these two guys do go along with the powder. Do I think you need them? Not 100%. Application has been the same as if I were using original. I've been doing the swirl tap buff method with the seamless buffing brush. This is where I want to talk about maybe the brush a little bit more. The coverage level on this powder, in my opinion, is a little less compared to the original and matte formula. I find that the max amount of coverage for me is about a light medium coverage. That's not bad. I think it actually looks really nice on the skin, which I will also talk about. But just keep in mind that I think the coverage, and I think that's what they were going for. It's supposed to be a little bit more breathable and healthy on the skin. But because of that, if you do want max coverage, make sure you are using a super dense brush. I think this seamless one that they've designed with it is perfect. It's very dense. You don't have to use it if you have something similar. Definitely make sure you're using something dense if you want the fullest amount of coverage, because if you're using anything that might just be fluffy or just really big, like a general powder brush, you're not going to get a ton of coverage with the product. The finish on this foundation is matte. If you just leave it alone, don't add highlighter or anything on top of it, you are going to have a pretty soft matte finish. But I will say, you all know I'm not a huge fan of flat finish foundations. I always use original because it's very luminous. I will say by itself, it is a very soft, forgiving matte. It's not like a thick, cakey matte. It, to me, seems like it was designed to help forgive the skin if you have more porous areas, or again, texture, obviously like breakouts. I do find that it looks, when I look really close up, it looks soft and it looks natural and it looks pretty. So it's not an ugly type of matte. It's actually just a very nice, natural, soft matte. And I have been asked if it has been drying me out. No, I haven't found that it's dried my skin out at all. Even when using the mattifying primer, I would say that I haven't noticed or had any problems with that. The longevity for me is probably somewhere between 6 to 8 hours before it might need a touch up. Keep in mind, I don't really have problems with foundations coming off very easily on me. I have a normal to dry skin type most of the time. I do think that if you are really oily or a pretty combination, you might need to touch up throughout the day. However, I did make it a point to just kind of touch up my face on several days, midday, just to see what it would look like layering, and I had no problems layering it on top of, makeup I had applied earlier that morning. I actually think it looked fine. There was hardly any difference. I wanted to point that out because a lot of foundations, especially pressed powder foundations, I feel like if you just keep applying them throughout the day, they can really start to look ugly and crepey and not so good. But this one actually layered nicely. I touched up with it, like I said, on several days, midday. It looked fine. So the only thing I cannot comment on, and I know this is going to disappoint a lot of people who are just randomly coming in for this review and don't really know my skin type. Obviously, I can't talk about whether it cleared up acne because I don't really get active breakouts that often. While I've been using this, I haven't had any breakouts, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. But I also think it's really hard to say that one specific product cleared up your skin. I think you have to take into consideration a lot of different things, not just with makeup, but also with your diet and just hormonal changes. So it's really hard to comment on whether a product really does clear the skin up, especially when it comes to makeup. So I'm sorry, I can't really comment on that. However, I do know that this has some really good ingredients in it to help with acne prone skin, so it would not surprise me if it does aid in helping your skin clear up, obviously, by not using an alcohol-based liquid foundation. That's going to help your skin breathe and clear up easier. Final thoughts, I want to do some pros and cons. The pros for me with this foundation, obviously it's really healthy, really natural. It's got a lot of good ingredients to help, again, aid in acne prone skin and clearing that up. I also think that for a matte foundation, it has a really forgiving formula or finish to it. It almost is like a soft matte veil on top of the skin. Even on days when I just wore this like by itself, no concealer, I thought it looked really good and just almost like a youthful matte. So I have been very pleased with the finish of this foundation. Honestly, I have no complaints with it looking too matte or too drying. For me, there's only really two cons. The first is that if you are a high coverage powder foundation person or you like to wear a lot of coverage, this really isn't gonna be like the #1 choice, I think, for you. It definitely has more of a, like I said, natural finish to it. A light medium coverage is kind of how I've been building it up. I think if you wanted more coverage, like I have today, I have a little bit more coverage on. I went in with Well Rested to give a little bit more coverage to my skin. You're gonna have to do that. It's not something that you can just keep building up and then get maximum coverage with. It's definitely more of a breathable formula. Secondly, I do think the colors are a little off. There are 20 shades, and the, like I said, neutral tones to me run a little bit more salmon, and the cool tones run really, really cool. And I'm gonna try to insert some footage so you can see what I'm talking about. Just keep that in mind. You may want to actually go to a boutique or Sephora or Ulta or wherever, check out the colors, because you may not be the same color that you are in original as you would be in the Blemish Rescue. All right, so that is pretty much it for this review. I hope I answered everything for you. If I left something out, feel free to ask me down below. I'll try to get back with you. I'll always keep the links to all these products in the info box so you can read a little bit more about them. And yeah, I overall have been enjoying it. I think it's a nice addition to the lineup of powders. And I think I'll actually continue to use it. Maybe when I feel like my skin's looking like crap. Obviously, when I have a breakout, I feel like it would definitely be something I would reach for. So, hope you enjoyed the review. Again, if you have questions, leave them down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.